Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus. It's time for our weekly live Q&A. So this is a show I do every single week, and our Patreon and our YouTube channel members have been able to submit questions in advance, of which we will be answering and going through. But also, if you are a YouTube channel member, you can join in the live chat right now. So we can see Dana, Bubba Trolling. We've also got Khaled. So if you are a member, you can obviously join up now, and you can help support the channel, and you can join in with the live Q&A. You can also use the super chat function as well. If you feel like you would like to help, you can also use the super thank. Also, you can use like the super chat function as well, which helps support the channel. Really important right now because there's been a lot of big changes in terms of ads and stuff right now, so it's a big support. Also, you can give out memberships as well. So if you fancy sharing some love to some other of our members, and that there does go out to everyone. So that's fantastic there. So let's jump into some of the news. But actually, just before we get into that, 2 bits of housekeeping. Housekeeping number 1. Next week, the clocks change here in the UK. So we're going to be going into winter time. I believe in the United States, the clocks go back the following week. So for next week, I will be on my normal time, but in America, you will be like an hour out. So just be, so next week, technically I'm at normal time, but also, it's really annoying luckily the winter one's not as bad as the spring one. That can be a couple of weeks different and stuff. So just be aware next week, depending on where you live, there might be a slight different change just because of the clocks changing for the sort of summer savings. Definitely noticeable that it's definitely going into winter mode now. You can tell that with the amount of Halloween and Christmas stuff everywhere. So that's housekeeping number 1. Housekeeping number 2. So over the past couple of months, I have been doing a lot of experimenting with different kinds of video formats. I'm trying some different things out. Earlier this summer, I did say that that's what I would be doing, and just trying out some different things, see what works, see what doesn't. So I've pretty much decided now of a sort of a plan moving forward. So I'm not going to keep moving around too much now from that. So we're going to be having the daily show happening Monday through Saturday. So I'm going to add Saturday in as a way of kind of being able to clear out some of the stories maybe from the week that I hadn't got around to. So we're going to have 6 episodes a week. So you're in there, you're going to have questions. So we'll have a question of the day. If you send in a super chat or a super thanks, that will go to the top of the queue to be done. Also, if you're a member, you will get sort of, if you're a member, I will probably more likely going to end up using maybe one of your questions than anybody else, but I will leave it open to anyone if there's a good question. If there's a really good question, I might even answer 1 or 2. So, but I'm just going to put that in there as a thing. So I'll be doing like the what's new, usually about 2 or 3 stories, probably about 3 stories in the question. So that's going to be there. If there is any major big news, then we might also get an extra bonus video that day where I want to go into a little bit more detail, and maybe it's got a little bit more meat on the bone, and that kind of needs its own kind of topic. So that might happen as well. If there's any interviews and stuff, they'll continue to go up as and when they come in. They've obviously been a little bit quieter lately because of the whole strikes and stuff. So hopefully we got some. I'm hoping got a couple coming up pretty soon. Hopefully, they're always a little bit funny with how that works, but yeah, so that's the plan, and the Q&A will continue as normal. So just a little bit of continuity with that. You might also see some shorts as well popping up. This is something I've just generally been trying out on all the different social medias to work out what works best. Trying out different formats and stuff, but yeah, it looks like that seems to be the way to move forward. So just as a little bit of a note, Aaliyah says times don't change till into the US till after Halloween. I thought that was what it was. Yeah, so they have more daylight trick-or-treating. It's kind of the opposite here because you kind of want it darker for trick-or-treating, really, because you kind of want it to be spooky. Babak says, will there be any changes to the podcasters going up on Apple and Spotify? So no, so you on Apple and Spotify, you will get the daily video as per usual. If there is a bonus video, I will try to put up a bonus episode as well. So you'll get an episode Monday through Saturday on the podcast feed. Again, I've been putting stuff up there when I've been doing all the little testings and stuff, but it's just now we've got a bit more of a format, and that will allow me. I did find just trying to do 3 videos, it just took a lot longer, even though I was talking less. That was kind of the thing. But also, Kind of weird in the fact of I kind of like doing the questions because it's a little bit more open, a little bit more stuff to talk about, a little bit more. I like having the like the community factor. I did actually, having done that for a couple of times, it's like I do actually miss that, but also just being able to talk a little bit more about what I've been watching. You know, not everything needs necessarily its own thing. So I was just finding like I actually prefer making the daily videos myself because can put a little bit more stuff in there. So that's definitely how that works. Hello to Star. Thank you very much for being a member for 2 years. Thank you so much. Yeah, that is fantastic. Right. Okay, let's jump into it. Let's get going. Let's get moving now. Okay, so Keenan asks, what do you think Disney should have done better since this year, which is the 100th anniversary, which is disappointing? So this is basically the title of today, which is what could Disney Plus done better for Disney Plus? Now, oh, sorry, for Disney 100. So we've just had the Disney 100th anniversary. Now the celebrations are still going to be carrying on right through to next year. Disney tends to like stretching out these anniversaries. It started last year, which makes sense. I mean, if you're putting out merchandise and all the rest of it, you kind of want to spread it out there. So that makes sense. I feel for Disney Plus, it kind of was a very wimpy-ish kind of thing. Because if you actually look at what Disney Plus did, we had a collection of just random stuff added. That was one collection. That was all it was, one collection. Now I do think it was great that we had, what was it, about 15 20 shorts that were repurposed or and brought up to HD, put onto. I thought that was fantastic. I really that was the best thing that they did. And then we had the amazing Once Upon a Studio short, which I thought was fantastic. Loved it. Great thing. 4K version of Snow White as well. Good timing with releasing it. I thought that was a good drop on it, but it was coming out on Blu-ray and stuff anyway, so it wasn't like it was specifically created for Disney Plus. There is no doubt in my mind that this year Disney Plus I'm going to put this more on like the US side right now. Disney Plus in the US has just been on cruise control. It's been doing the bare minimum it's needed to just to creep on through. The big Green Hulk project of bringing in Hulu hopefully will begin in December. But that thing has been hanging over Disney Plus. When they decided what they were going to do, it really did feel like Disney Plus just got put on cruise control. They kept putting the prices up. They want to get the ad tier going. They know they've got a good product which will keep families and stuff entertained, and they know that it's not going to keep adults happy because what they're making for adults on Disney Plus just doesn't work. I think they've realized this. They've known they've overcooked Marvel and Star Wars, and the simple answer is, why recreate the wheel when you've got FX and 20th Century and ABC and all of this lot creating all this fantastic content for adults? Why are you trying to reinvent something and try and do something from scratch when the simple answer was there all along? And we've all got, internationally, we've all seen the benefits of this. This past week, we get like Welcome to Wrexham and the Colleen Rooney Show and the Kardashians and all kinds of different stuff that's dropped onto Disney Plus. That means then as an adult, we've got something to watch. And I think it does make a big difference. People, my mum's currently like working her way through all of the Grey's Anatomy. She's managed to get through, I think, 15 seasons in the last couple of months. She only started in the summer. But there's lots of stuff on there to watch, and that really makes a big difference. But in the US, it has been just crickets. I mean, if you take away the Marvel and Star Wars, there just hasn't really been any originals. They've really cut back on that. You're getting the big films and you're getting the Disney Channel stuff. Great. But there's not really much else there to keep you engaged. I know personally, if I was in the US, it would be Marvel and Star Wars and a little bit of Nat Geo here and there and the big films and stuff. That would be about it. I wouldn't watch a single thing from Disney Channel. It's not really something I'm going to want to watch. But I think with Disney 100, they really missed the opportunity to reach into the vault and start pulling out classics. I think it would have been great to see them like basically just say, look, we're going to put on a classic film from the archive every week. Let's pull in some shows and stuff that we haven't got. There are hundreds of films and shows in our vault that are not available on Disney Plus. Now, I'm not talking things that are available on like Hulu. I'm just talking just classic films, classic shorts and animated series and stuff like that. There's so much stuff on there that they could have just started dropping some of that classic Disney content on there. Obviously, with the strikes, we are going to go into a period probably after the new year where they're going to need to kind of maybe bulk up a bit, but I feel the Hulu side is going to fill that in a little bit more. But we've had things like Home Improvement, or we've had like the random show that will just turn up a month, and it's like we need more than just one show a month. We need much more than that. So I personally do think like Disney 100 didn't hit right. So let's see what you guys have said. So Kenny says, to answer the question of the headline, what Disney could have done better is clean up their PR issues and try to avert the Hollywood strikes. Iger resigning might help some, but it wouldn't make much difference, since Chapek's departure didn't fix Disney's problems. After Iger isn't Vince McMahon, and his departure when WWE creative got business booming. I think the trouble is, I think people now, and in the world of the internet, I think the big problem is everybody wants an instant answer. They want Disney just to go and everything's fixed. This is going to take years to repair some of the problems that Disney have created. Some of them are their own making. Some of them are just the situation. Some of them are things. Now, I would say like the current, like the actors strike and the writers strikes, it's not just Disney. And Disney, Iger did put his foot in it at the beginning. But this involves Warner Brothers and Paramount and Netflix and all the other ones. They're all as equally as bad as each other in terms of what's been going on and how it's been happening. So I do think, Iger, if he kept his head down a little bit at the beginning of the strike, he might have got away with it. And if he hadn't have, spoke about how unrealistic it was, he might have been able to just sneak under the radar. But obviously he's been going to the meetings and stuff, and he's just trying to, I would say, keep his head down while he's been doing it. It looks like this past week we've seen the Netflix guy popping his head up a little bit more, saying about it. Hopefully with the strike talk starting again on Tuesday, we might get a resolution to this. I personally don't think that they're going to get the 1%. I think they're going to end up probably getting their bonus like increased to kind of counterbalance it, that, which I think makes a little bit more sense, because I think the bonus would, if they maybe lowered the threshold or they paid more money in, that might be a way of doing it. I think probably lowering the threshold might be the better way, so more shows qualify. That's my own personal thought. That's not anything based on anything. It was just my own guess. I can't see Netflix and stuff wanting to give 1% no matter what it is. And I know some people kind of say it's only 1%, but it's not just 1%. It will grow, and it's very tricky for any business, like for anyone to be able to be told to give away a part of your revenue. That's very difficult for anyone to give away. And I don't know sometimes when people talk, say, oh, it's just 1%, you don't necessarily understand how big that would be. But yeah, I do think Disney has kept putting their foot in it with PR, and there's a lot of stuff that they could fix themselves. Some of it is going to take a long time. They've got to fix the creative issues. I think there has been issues. They have alienated some like families and stuff with what they've been putting in content. There's no point in sugarcoating it. It's not light. Disney does also still need to do diversity. It can't do the complete 180 and not do any of it. It's going to have to find that balance of where it finds everything, and sometimes it's pushed a little bit too much and not enough, and they're going to have to find that balance. And I think that's a key thing, and I think that's where they've got to work out where it is. It's better stories, better films, and I think that's going to be it. I think Marvel overcooked it. I think Star Wars they've just been under too much pressure to create stuff for Disney Plus, because at the time they wanted subscribers. The simple thing is, putting out 5 to 6 to 8 Marvel shows a year, whatever it wasn't going to make any more subscribers. It was just going to keep subscribers. Maybe that's what the plan was until they got Hulu sorted, but they definitely damaged Marvel in the process. Dana says, Disney hasn't done any type of marketing push for Disney 100. What promotions have they really done? Nothing I can see. They should have pushed for $1 on Disney Plus around the world, for example. I do think with the Disney 100, they have been doing they've been doing promotion things for different things. Like they have had adverts on TV here, for example, for the Expedition that's currently on in London. They did that whole push with the Disney 100 trailers and stuff like that. The simple truth is Disney 100, in terms of marketing, what are they trying to? The whole point of the marketing is trying to sell something, isn't it? They're trying to sell a ticket to a cinema, trying to sell a product. Now, whether or not they could have done like a generic Disney Plus trailer, to kind of say Disney100 and here's all the great stuff. That would have been quite nice, I think. But yeah, it's what there's that kind of thing as well of what are they trying to sell with that Disney100? I know that's the company as a whole, but that's kind of doesn't really help like that one product. Let's see what else we've got here. Matt says, will you be doing articles about what's coming for the week for Disney Plus and Hulu? So obviously at the minute I do an article in the U. I do this for like our main regions: UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the US. So at the minute I do separately for one for Hulu, one for Disney Plus. Primarily, I haven't been doing like what's new on Hulu each day because it's been a little bit like, are we going to get there? How's that going to work and stuff? When the Disney Plus kind of and Hulu gets combined and they're available within it, I will be ramping up more sort of more coverage of that and changing probably how I present it a little bit more, because there's going to be a lot more dropping on to Disney Plus each week. So I might change the format around it a little bit. But yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a change to make sure from everyone's point of view what's new. Because essentially the way I look at it is like, if you go into anything that's in Disney Plus in the US will be fair game in the same way that it is for here in the UK, which is why most of the Hulu stuff we cover anyway, because for us in Canada and the UK and Australia, it's all on Disney Plus anyway. So that's kind of thing. But there will be probably be some little changes in terms of how some of the formatting goes. We're doing a little bit more of it here and there anyway, but yeah, so there will be some more stuff. Matt says, if there was any year for Disney to get more serious about adding library content, it was this year for Disney100. But besides those classic shorts, they basically threw in the towel. It does feel like they just didn't want to spend any money. Ryan says, I've just seen an email on Disney Plus. If you get 12, you get 6 more. I don't know quite what you mean. Also, be very careful with emails and Facebook posts and stuff. There's a lot of fake ones going around to try and get you to engage. The far as giving you get through 12 months and get 6 months free, that doesn't sound right, because if Disney were doing that, they would have been informing press and stuff beforehand. Just be careful with that kind of thing, because there has been some scams and stuff going around. Kelly said, at least we did get something for Disney100. Marvel Studios are celebrating 15 years and they got delegated by Disney since the parent company gets higher priority. I would disagree a little bit on that one, and the fact of 15 years means nothing. It doesn't. Disney100 is 100 is a milestone. It is a big thing. 15 years isn't really a big thing in the grand scheme of things. And also Disney has so many anniversaries. If you see every day, it is an anniversary of one Disney film or one show getting released at some point in its history. It's got to that. Like today is 25 years since this got released, or 30 years, and there's always something, and some of them are bigger milestones than other ones, and sometimes they release a little bit of merch on it, but they've got so many anniversaries it kind of becomes a little bit meaningless. Certain ones are a little bit, if you get like 50 years or 25 years, those are kind of the big same thing, like really with a wedding, 37 years being married, great. But 40 has got a little bit more of a thing to it. Tim says, why did Be Our Guest behind the scenes Beauty of the Beast got released on Disney Plus on Monday rather than Friday? Yeah, this was odd. When I checked in on Monday, it did say that it was up, which was a surprise, because I get why they put it up for Disney100, but even on the official Disney's Australia website, it was still saying Friday. So bit of an odd one. Final, the live ones. Matt says, do you think they'll add more classic films on from Fox? I think they might do once they get in with Disney Plus. I think they'll start going into those a little bit more. Bubba Trolling, thank you very much for being a member for 28 months. Thank you so much for that. That's fantastic. Do you think the ABC Fox shows will be on Disney Plus the next day? Yeah, I think that you're going to start seeing this becoming quite common. Whatever I think Hulu are doing, I think Disney Plus will just continue doing this system to kind of get around it. So you are going to start seeing that. All right, let's jump to some questions. Kenneth says, do you think SAG needs new leadership after the strike? I feel they overstepped their responsibilities with how they mandated their members not to dress up as IP characters for Halloween. I mean, let's be honest. Ryan Reynolds is, he said that he will call out his 8-year-old daughter for being a scab. I did laugh. I did literally laugh out loud when I saw Ryan kind of responding to that. Of like, mate, I personally think there was an expectation that the strike was going to come to an end before the studios walked away, and it does feel a little bit like I don't know necessarily if the leadership at SAG overplayed what it was thinking. I think there has been a reaction to what they've done internally of some people going, look, this is just, you've pushed too far, or you've done stuff. I think the Halloween stuff again was just like overstepping it. I mean, saying like you can't dress up as like, Deadpool or a character from it's bordering on like getting into that next zone of like, what are you doing here? I mean, the big one, like for me personally, was when like at the beginning of the seats when it's first started, and talking about like influencers and stuff of like not talking about things, and you're like, if we're not members of SAG, it's nothing to do with us. And I think that was an issue. I do think they're going to get it resolved. I hope so. Anyway, we could do with some news. Need some news. I was like with my parents over the weekend, and I was talking about like, I said, it's just like we've not really. I mean, this last week or two has not been so bad. Now with the writers' strike, it's kind of things have been floating a little bit more. But it'd be nice to get some movement on some news. So I want it over as soon as I can. And it says, do you think Disney Plus will continue to release higher quality versions of classic movies? I think that will continue to happen as long as they're making money from it. But also, I don't know if it might like redo some of the copyrights and stuff as well. A little bit being a bit what's the word? Yeah, like skeptic at that point that there's some ulterior motives that goes on with that. Keenan says, I heard rumors that Tango, Princess and the Frog, Tarzan, and Frozen live action remakes should release at least 20 years after the animated film release, and it's not nostalgic. Yeah, so if this was from the Disney Insider, I did see it. That pretty much was what it said, was that there was no other details other than that. How far these in, how much development, we don't know. Was this literally just something discussed? Is it on a back burner? Is it on a notepad of like, these are some potential ideas that we could do? I mean, let's be honest, if you were running Disney Studios, I'm sure you would have basically just a list of all the movies and going, well, we've got all of these we could do. Which ones are going to be more popular than others? I do think Frozen is, I don't see a Frozen one happening right now because they're doing Frozen 3. Frozen 3 should take priority, and why mess about with something like you said? There's no nostalgia for I think even Moana being done, so I think they should have just done Moana too. Personally, I just feel like that was it. I mean, if you actually saw literally behind my camera, there's two Maui, there's an action figure to pop. I love Moana, but it's too early to do it. I think Princess and the Frog may, even that is too soon. I mean, we're going to be getting the Tiana Disney Plus series. Focus on that. Tangled, again, seems a bit too soon to be doing it. And Tangled is such a fantastic film. I think especially like being on the Disney cruises and stuff, Tangled is really big on the cruises. Tarzan, we've only recently had some live action versions of Tarzan, and they haven't done that well. And also there might be some right issues and stuff. So personally don't think it's time to do it. And it says, what are some ways that Disney Plus could improve going forward? So I'm going to put that one out to all of you guys as well. Put in your comments of what you would like to see them do. I think we need some major things. Obviously, the US, get that Hulu stuff in there. Get that in there. That's number one. Number two, an algorithm of some kind of front end where we get a little bit more personalization, so that like different things pop up for different, for what you're watching. Don't be showing me, do I want to watch Mickey Mouse Funhouse and Bluey next when I haven't watched anything like that. The last thing I watched on there was American Horror Story and the Colleen Rooney Real Raggatha story. Why would I want to watch Bluey? The algorithm doesn't seem to be very good on that. I think that would be good. better curation of the front page, so maybe focus on stuff that they want to push a little bit more, as well as like I said, an algorithm. Better collections, better ways of finding stuff in there, some hidden gems, highlight some stuff in there. That would be better. A leaving soon section, they're going to need that. If they put in, once that Hulu stuff goes in there, they're going to have to start putting in a little bit more of that. I think definitely with the licensed content, they will need something like that. Yeah, those are the kind of the big ones, really. Also, and this was a funny one, profile avatars. While we've had Star internationally with all this great content, we've not got a single avatar or anything to do with Star or anything, because obviously it's all in like a global system. We haven't been able to have it because the US hasn't got it, so therefore, there's no avatar for only Murders in the Building or Futurama and stuff because of the US situation. So I'm hopefully when the US stuff gets put in, I'm also hoping we get maybe some live sports with an ESPN stuff. But let us know your thoughts. Matt says, when do you think the Disney Plus and Hulu film merger will go into the one app? So I think in December we will get the Hulu stuff going into Disney Plus basic. I think we're going to be getting a basic version of it. Next year we'll then get some more features, and they'll roll out the maybe the new version of Disney Plus. I think we're going to get a slightly simple version. I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if America literally just gets a Hulu hub, like a Star hub, and it's just that's all it is. And then maybe this time next year we get, or even the year after, we get the full merger. I think we're probably going to have a year to 18 months of the two things running side by side. Let's jump into the chats. Babatronic says, do you think the Max rename was a mistake? Yes and no. Now, here's the thing. HBO is not as big a brand outside of the US. And now, I've had this argument with friends and stuff before of people that are right into the TV and into movies and stuff are like, no, HBO is great. We know all about it and stuff, and it's fantastic. Your average Joe, when I go in the supermarket, does not know what a HBO here in the UK is. It's not a brand. Warner Brothers Max would have been a better one. Max is very generic. I don't think it was a great name. I think there should have been a Warner Brothers in there. I don't necessarily think Warner Brothers Discovery. I think most people, it's a bit of a long too, but Max is nice and simple. So I don't think the HBO brand will have translated globally as well as Max will. But I can also see why they wanted to keep HBO out of it, because if you've got on there Bleacher Report and CNN and the Toonami or whatever one things they've got in there, they want that kind of thing of having a little bit more mixed stuff in there. So that's definitely for that one. Kelly says, what can Disney Plus improve on having in-house captions instead of using device subtitles, similar to what Netflix does, a smoother interface? Yes. It just generally needs an update. It just needs an update. We have to remember that remastering films and TV shows aren't cheap. I know when Funimation remastered Dragon Ball Z for Blu-ray, see, I knew what that was. They said it was a lengthy process to ensure the film is optimized for digital. Yeah, definitely, there is a lot of cost involved, but you got to imagine it's got to be cheaper because they're going to be releasing LA Law and recently in the US on Hulu. No word yet on when we're going to get it internationally. There's other advantages. If they redigitalize it, they can then maybe license it out to other platforms as well. That's something like with Moonlighting and LA Law. In a year's time, they could maybe license that out to Netflix as non-exclusive and get some extra cash. So there are other ways of getting revenue from this one. Matt says, do you think another reason Disney Plus has slowed down adding more library content is they're waiting to see how the SAG after strike affects their business model? If they have to pay residuals to writers and actors, that could affect how many titles are available for streaming. Definitely, I do think that's an aspect of it. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they know that they're going to have a lean 3 to 6 months, then they can use the back catalogue to help fill in the gaps. So I think that is a good thing that they could do. But I think they're primarily just been trying to save money. I think that's the key thing. They need to get Disney Plus into profitability, and so therefore they don't want to spend money on stuff that they don't need to. And let's be honest, if they add, I don't know, X whatever show, whichever animated TV series that was on the Disney Channel 20 years ago and isn't on Disney Plus right now, and I can't think of House of Mouse or something like that. The realization of how much money would that actually bring in is not a lot, because there's actually more incentive to put it onto like Moonlighting or LA Law on there, because they get ad revenue. They don't get the ad revenue from the kids shows, so they're actually going to make more sense to put the older shows for adults on there because they get more money from advertising. Let's see what else we've got here. Kate says, I know Mandy Moore publicly called out SAG leadership and told them to focus on getting a fair deal instead of worrying about Halloween. I do think this Halloween situation has just pushed them into this thing of people are getting annoyed. I know a lot of people, it's costing lots of businesses, lots of people, lots of money, and picking fights and trying to be. And I mean, I find as well, one of the things I find really frustrating is the fact of SAG can put out comments and saying about how bad the studios are and how much of a bully they are and everything like that, and put across all the human side of things. But the minute the studio does it, they're bad guys. It's a very much a one way or the other. There's, and I think they've been playing on that to the point where it's actually starting to wind people up. There was a video, I think, with Fran over the weekend where she was like, it felt like she was talking down to people and stuff, and like with George Clooney and stuff, and it really just it was not a very good look. Kyle says they should have called it Warner Max. That would have been fine. I think that would have been good. Matt says, what do you think? What do you think we'll see Doctor Who added to Disney Plus? I would not like to bet right now that those classic episodes are going to go to Disney Plus. They are about to re-add them onto iPlayer, so they some of them. I think the first few episodes aren't there because they haven't got the rights to them. But don't underestimate the fact that Iger might not want this deal. This was a Chapek move to get the show, and Iger might not want it. He's focusing on their own core content. We've seen what's happened to other brands like Spiderwick Chronicles. I think the Doctor Who stuff might probably still go ahead if the contract's good enough and he feels that it fits. But very noticeable, Disney kind of really has been pulling back on its promotion of Doctor Who stuff that the BBC's been putting out there. They've not been putting out the tweets. They've not been putting out the trailers and stuff like the BBC has. It's very, very weird with this one. I'm really looking forward to watching the new series of Doctor Who. But I would be watching it anyway because I like David Tennant, and I do like every time there's a new Doctor, I always try it out. So we've got a few questions here about what's going on with Star India. So Dana says, with the talk of Sony and talks of purchasing Disney India, basically, do you think Disney will add into the negotiations about getting all of SpiderMan back, or at least 50% control? I think this will be completely separate. Disney want cash, making it, while we might be there going, well, we want Spider-Man and you want this asset, Disney needs the cash. And I don't know if Spider-Man, and I don't think Sony will get rid of Spider-Man. And I must admit, I'm this close to buying Spider-Man 2 on my PlayStation. I played the last two ones. I did feel like, I think with Spider-Man 2, I was like, I do want to play this game and I want to get it. But there's that part of me that was going like, it's 80 quid for the digital version. I was just like, and I know in like 3 weeks time, it's going to be at least like 40% off. So I think I was a little bit like, you know what? I might just hold off. But yeah, I don't think they'll get Spider-Man. Mama says, when do you think we know the fate of the Disney India business? I think if we are going to get anything, this upcoming quarterly results will be maybe a big thing of where they might announce something of going on. It might take a while with a bit more negotiations and stuff, but I think Wall Street might be a little bit more inclined to be a little bit more forgiving on the books if they turn around and say, look, we are the Disney, the Star channels in India are losing us. I think I've read it was like $500 million. We're going to be selling that, and that'll offset this. I think we'll just get, I don't know if it might take a while to go through. Because this is the thing with the Sony stuff, is Sony are only trying to buy Z. I think this was the next question, actually. Kelly says, when I saw the news about Disney having talks with Sony India regarding the Star India assets, I got the feeling this is another merger plan in case the Z merger photos What do you think? So apparently the deal between Sony and Z has been going on for years, and it's been delayed because of some legal issues of one of the people in there. And Sony are getting frustrated with how long it's taken. It should have been done by now. And not necessarily if the Z merger falls through, but I'm wondering is if Sony gets a good deal for the Star assets, whether or not it then pulls the plug on Z, because then it's getting a good deal for Sony. So that could be interesting. Babak says, do you think Disney Plus is going to keep making seasons of the Santa Claus and making a yearly drop? I think it's all going to depend on season 2. I think it's a good. I personally would prefer if, I mean, the trouble is with the kids is they're obviously growing up, but maybe make it alternate years. Don't do it every year because you're going to burn through it quickly. Maybe give it a break next year and then bring it back at the year after. Yeah, maybe introduce something else. I think that is what they need to do with a lot of these shows, is give them a bit of room to kind of build up. Kid shows are a little bit harder because of kids growing up and stuff. You only get a few years of them, but I do think with some of these shows, leave a little bit of room for people to miss it. Don't overcook it. Aaliyah says, I have Disney Plus, no ads annual, and it renews in mid-November, and Hulu with no ads monthly. What advice do you have for me to receive the one app experience? Changed Disney Plus to monthly from annual. Okay, so I think if you've got them both connected with the same like email address, if you're still using the same Disney account, you should be fine. That shouldn't be a problem. The thing is, what you should be looking at is what saves you the most amount of money. So you might want to get we did this the other day. We actually went through all of our monthly subscriptions, worked out what it was going to cost and stuff, and what we could do, what's cheaper to get annually. We actually did all this because to cut the cord and make some changes. So obviously Hulu, if you've got Hulu with no ads, but you're only paying that monthly because you can't do an annual deal. So obviously right now you're going to be able to get Disney Plus and Hulu without ads for $19.99 a month. So that is the premium tier for both without ads. But obviously there's no annual fee on that one. So if you say $20 a month plus taxes and all the rest of it, but I won't go into taxes because that's such a different thing depending on what state you're in and stuff. So just off the top of your head, I mean, what's that? That's $240 a year for having the premium version. If you think that's too much, you've got the alternative of you could have the ad version of them both for only $9.99 a month. So those are your two options, but again, you can't do annual on that one. I think getting a Disney Plus annual subscription is always a good option for you to get to save. You usually save about 2 months. So that's a big thing. But the price of the Disney Plus, I think the fact that you've got Hulu with no ads, to me, I would say it would make more sense for you just to go on to the monthly $19.99 a month, because I don't think you would save any money, because if you're still paying like $17.99 a month for Hulu without, the annual bill is going to be more than $2 a month. So I think you're probably better off moving on to the premium dual one. I think that's how my math would work out. Mamo says, how do you think Disney will do a monthly coming and leaving list for both Hulu and Disney when the one app experience launches? So at the minute in the US, they actually do send a monthly list with all the Hulu content, some of the ESPN highlights, and the Disney Plus. So when we actually when we do get the lists, we do actually get them all in one. I obviously break them down into two separate things. When eventually they go into Disney Plus goes in with the Hulu, I will be redoing how those articles are done. I haven't worked out how to do it yet, but I can't do them in the current format because they're just going to be going on. They'll be too big, so I will change the format and probably just focus on like the originals with a little bit more detail and stuff. So I'll be changing how they do it, and I'll be definitely making sure that to be aware of what's Hulu and what's Disney Plus. So I will be changing around the formats and stuff. Same way with the videos and stuff. I will be, there's that kind of thing of like, it's on Hulu, but it's on Disney, so it won't really make a lot of difference. But yeah, there is going to be a little bit of a change with how it works and stuff. But as far as the monthly lists and stuff, how I do my videos at the minute, we might change. It might, if I don't think I can sit there and do a combined list with Hulu and Disney Plus, because that video will be 10 times, because the Hulu lists are so much longer. Whether or not I make a highlight, I might make a highlights video of what's coming to both, do it that way around, and not because I if I'm saying all the ABC shows and stuff, there's just so much. There's going to be a lot more coming in. Babak says, what did you think of the new Goosebumps? I've been loving it, but I'm surprised at how dark and scary it is. I'll be honest, I haven't watched this week's episode. It's been a bit of a busy week with some issues and stuff that I've been dealing with. I really enjoyed those first 5 episodes. It was a lot, like you said, it was a lot darker, a little bit more scary. I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel like I was watching a Disney Channel show. I think that's the best way. It did feel a little CW at points. It's definitely teen, but it didn't feel like a Disney Channel show, and I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Let's jump back into the live chats. Kyle says, hope Goosebumps gets renewed. Now, there's one thing going for it, one thing going against it. Number one, the ratings for this were really good. The viewership is apparently the most watched premiere on Disney Plus and Hulu of any Disney branded show. It's outdone all the rest of it. So that's really good. So that's a very good point, that it's been a success. Success generally leads on to them doing stuff. The other problem is it is a Sony series, and Disney are trying to focus on their own core content, and that might have an issue, but it's a success, and successes generally do mean that there'd be a bit. If it was a flop, then it would be gone. Matt says, if the actress takes longer to get enough new content for next year, I'm not 100% sure what you mean on that one, Matt. Sorry. If you want to just rewrite that one, that'd be great. Star says, I read some worrying reports that the Wish trailer released 3 weeks ago got a lot of dislikes. Like, how many dislikes? So YouTube doesn't show the dislikes now anymore. That's something that they've stopped doing. Kind of helps a little bit, like with mental health. I know that sounds a bit silly, but as content creators and stuff, it can be a bit, while on like a trailer and stuff, most people are using the down thing for weird reasons. I very much got used to the idea of, if I was giving bad news, I'd get a lot more thumbs down because people didn't agree with this news. They didn't like it. So they gave it a thumbs down, which makes sense. But you could also flip it the other way around, of people going, oh, they didn't like the video. But any engagement is good engagement. But as far as it getting down likes and stuff, there is going to be a section of the population that are going to hate Wish. And that's just going to be how it is. Every movie has this, but with Disney, there is a core chunk of people that hate everything that they do and will shout about it as much as they can on social media. That's going to happen for every single film, no matter what it is. And that's it. Ultimately, the big thing is going to be how well it does at box office. But more importantly, did you like it? That's all that matters. Ultimately, if you like it and your family like it, what difference does it make? That's the other thing with the internet and stuff. If that's the key thing. If you like the film, if you like Elemental, even if you like A Strange World, if you enjoyed Strange World, doesn't matter if nobody else liked it. It doesn't matter. And I think that's something that gets lost a little bit. It's like with critics and stuff. We get like chastised over like not liking something, and there's people, some people like more art style stuff. I don't tend to. I like big blockbusters. I like robots fighting and superheroes and stuff. I don't want to watch the new Martin Scorsese film. It doesn't go. I don't want to watch it. It doesn't look that interesting. I might give it a go when it arrives on Netflix or whichever one it's going to be on. But yeah, I'm not going to go see it. But I want to go see the Marvels because I like the look of the Marvels. But ultimately, all that matters is if you like it, and that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Kayla says both Sony and Disney need SpiderMan equally, since it's a box office cash cow, but there will be the disciplined approach to how they do it. I think Sony need to be very wary that they have cooked up their own little problem coming up that the Marvel Universe and DC have had. The superhero fatigue is going to hit Sony just as much as it's going to hit everybody else. And if they're putting out subpar content, they are going to suffer the same fate that Marvel and DC has had. And especially after Morbius. So Craven and Madam Web and them keep making more and more movies with characters that are less and less connected to Spider-Man, is not going to be good. If they can make a deal with Marvel where they can co-op together and make a better product, that will be better for all of them. Sony will go where the money is, and if the movies start making money, they will stop cutting back as well. They produced all these movies because at the time when they all got greenlit, you could put a logo of Marvel on something and it would sell. It doesn't work like that anymore. People have got fed up with it. Kelly says, I know Sony Live is more South Asian countries than Disney Plus, so I can see both sides create a joint venture streamer in that region, similar to Sky Showtime in Eastern Europe. I don't know. I'm thinking the opposite, because I don't think it's a very good idea for Disney to completely abandon being a streamer in India. There's too many subscribers. It's too big. I just think they're just looking at it and going, why don't we just give them Disney Plus like every other country? That's the way I look at it. They could sell off a lot of that content, get rid of the studios, get rid of the linear channels, and they just literally just offer the same Disney Plus that people in South Africa and in Brazil and here in UK and in Australia and in Japan, they just get the same Disney Plus that the rest of us get. And they might get some originals, they might get some content that's specially made for them and stuff like that. But I suspect they're looking at it going, why are they making so many originals? Why are they making so much stuff? They can have the same Disney Plus that the rest of the world has got. And I think that might be more in line of what they might be thinking. Dana says, have you gotten to watch WDW Thoughts? W2W, Werewolf. What's WTW? Could you just let me know? I'm just trying to think what that is. W2W. World War. No, sorry. Might be being really dumb there. Matt says, did you like World by Night in color or black and white? Werewolf by Night. So I watched Werewolf by Night again over the weekend in color. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like it last year when I watched it in black and white. I did think it was better in color. I enjoyed it more, which is really odd because I didn't enjoy it last year. And I only watched it once, and I was like, I didn't like it. Watched it again this time in color. Really liked it. Welcome to Wrexham. Okay, have you caught up? I am. What was the last? I haven't watched this week's episode yet. I have watched up till last week. Just more of the same. I wouldn't say this series feels as good as the last one. It's a bit weird one. I don't know about you. There doesn't seem to be as much interest in the second season. It doesn't seem to be that. It's kind of like we know what they're doing, and it's just like churning through and stuff. I'm not really. I'm enjoying it, but it doesn't feel like a show that I have to watch that same day. Does that make sense? Are you enjoying it? That's the main thing. Bobatronic says, what if Disney sells FX? What would happen to the content? I don't think they will sell FX. FX is premium tier adult content that is niche. It is cured content. It is the HBO that Disney love. It provides them with high quality shows that is what Disney want. That FX brand is exactly what Disney Plus needs. It needs that little area for high quality shows that could be able to compete with all the others. They're not looking to sell FX. They might close down the channel, but the FX studio isn't going to go anywhere. If they sold it, then they might have to sell the assets. But I think they've got like 60, 70 series. Welcome to Wrexham's a hit. The Bear's the hit. I mean, you get the odd little one that isn't, but FX is I would say that is the premium powerhouse of that content. So I definitely think that is difficult to do. Matt C. Sony also has to keep producing Spider-Man related movies in order not to lose the movie rights, but they very much do not want to lose Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, they do have to keep making stuff, but I don't think they have to make 3 movies a year. I think they probably only have to do like one every few years. I know exactly what you're saying, but I don't think they need to make as many as they are. I think they could slow it back a little bit. Kelly says, speaking of acronyms, Scott D'Amore announced that Impact Wrestling will be rebranded to TNA in January. Yeah, I feel they want to disrupt the status quo again and push WWE. I'll be honest, I saw this tweet this morning and I just thought, it's over, guys. Let it go. It's gone. Impact is, this brand is, might as well just get swallowed up. It's a bit like OVW. It isn't going to be able to disrupt the other ones because they haven't got the money. Rebranding it, it's not going to make any difference. Even AEW, I personally feel like they are all oversaturated right now. I think AEW is doing way too many shows. I think they've just got too many. And to be honest, I haven't watched TNA. Well, I don't think I've watched it since they rebranded it, but I think like once like AJ Styles and stuff left, I think that was the end of it. Dana says, I'm loving it, enjoying the history portions, and like they're including the women's division. I've been following them also on Twitter and YouTube. That's good. Yeah, that women's division episode was really good. It kind of shows you the counterbalance of the pressure to try and get them up into like the paid league. I thought was really interesting, but also showing they're essentially just in a field outside of the town. There's no viewers watching it. There is this like weird thing with it. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I had the flu jab yesterday, so I don't know if something's coming through. So it's that I do think like we're welcome to Wrexham. It's a good show. I do think it's good, but it also shows you like how they've still got a lot to grow, and they've got to do a lot more money. They've got to spend so much more money in it. I do wonder if they ever got to the Premier League, they're going to need a whole new stadium because that one's just not big enough. But then obviously they would be making money as they go up. Tim's been loving this season. It's really good. It's really good. I mean, the fact that I'm watching a football show is really good because I really enjoyed the Colleen Rooney documentary this week as well. Matt says, what's going to happen to the freeform shows and movies? Well, I mean, at the minute, I think the channel is definitely endangered. I think it could easily end up getting sold off to somebody else. In terms of the movies and stuff, some of it's just going to get put onto Disney Plus and Hulu. Some of it will go out to license out to other content, to other platforms. There is a few shows on Freeform that are licensed, so they might just get rid of some of them stuff. Star says, looking at things now, I think Disney Plus Hotstar will be sold. India and Southeast Asian markets will be affected, maybe because Disney's current image isn't very good in Malaysia, for example. Yeah, well, I think this is the same thing that everywhere's going. I don't think that they're going to merge it in with somebody else. I mean, they have talked about they might not be in every region and stuff, but I just feel we're going to get a more uniformed Disney Plus. I think a little bit of differences between the regions and stuff will be cut back to save money. And it's like when you say like Southeast Asia, when you're throwing in you can throw in, I don't know if you've got like Korea, Hong Kong, Thailand, all these different countries. I don't think they want to leave all those regions. I think we're going to see a more simplified system where there's less. They might license local content and stuff to reach quotas and stuff, but I feel we're going to see a much more simplistic version globally, where once the Disney Plus in the US has been sorted, they can spread that out properly. It's like I think it's Indonesia. They got like the WWE, and I think that's where they'll go. I think they will just streamline it a little bit more, and so on. Kayla says if Freeform is shut down, I feel the 31 days of Halloween and 25 days of Christmas will just move to another Disney platform. Yeah, that could easily move. I mean, that could almost move on to like ABC. They could just, but it not necessarily all day long. They could, or even move it. I don't think it would work on FX, but yeah, I think that's definitely going to go on. Tim says, with the welcome to Wrexham airing on Disney Plus each Wednesday, why are we getting 1 episode, 2 episodes in their week? I don't know. It seems to be a very weird release schedule. I don't know how many episodes we're getting a week. It is very, very weird with how they are coming in. Matt says, I heard they might do a sequel to Werewolf by Night. I did do an article yesterday. There's talk of it. Nothing's really happened yet. And as Dana says, I can't believe the women's division isn't playing at the race. Yeah. I mean, but then I suppose, do the games happen at the same time as the men's? That might be the issue. Right, let's keep going down the questions. Manmode says, when the One App experience launches at the end of the year, will Disney release a list of content? Probably, yes. They probably will give a lot more info. I'm not expecting any major news until the quarterly results. And I think then they'll blast it at that point. They're going to have to get something through with Comcast or some kind of deal. Maybe they make the deal that they've made the price, or they agreed to it. Tim says, when do you think we'll get the trailer for Dashing Through the Snow? Because it's coming out in November. I would say any day now it could come. It could be this week. It could be. Though I personally would maybe just hold off until November. I don't think there's a lot of benefit in putting out a trailer today saying that, or say a trailer comes out tomorrow. There is no real need to. They could put it out in November, a week or two beforehand. It's a straight to streaming movie. There's not going to have much of a budget. It's just going to be a YouTube trailer going up, and that'll be about it. So that's it. Keenan says, writer strike is over, but the actor strike is not. Did it have anything to do with the pandemic? I don't necessarily think it went down to the pandemic. I think it was more the fact that a lot of the issues have been building up for years. So I don't necessarily think the pandemic had much to do with it. Connor says, with the popularity of fast technology, do you think the likes of Spotify could launch an audio fast service? It could be similar layout to Music Choice on Sky. Well, Spotify does have, you can have free access to music anyway. You just get ads in between it. So I don't think they necessarily need to do that. And you can get, so they've kind of got it already built in, really. Okay, we did that one. Tim says, Searchlight Pictures movies Next Go Win is coming to movie theaters in Australia on New Year's Day. Will this have been a delay of Disney Plus, and why is it being delayed? So theatrically, so you can definitely see this a lot with the Searchlight Pictures films, where the release dates are a little bit all over the place. They are adjusting them as and when. Obviously, I think in like Australia and obviously like here in the UK, Boxing Day is a big time. If you're an American, it's basically the day after Christmas. We have a day off. And yeah, they hold stuff back. They stretch out the release schedule a little bit more. So it will affect on how quickly a movie arrives on Disney Plus. Chevalier was one that got released in Australia a couple of months after the US. And therefore the Disney Plus release was only this month. And it was out in Canada in June. So I think we got it in September. It's a really actually good movie. But yeah, Theatre Camp is another one. That one was added in the US. It took I don't think it's actually even on here yet. I'm just trying to think, because I think we did watch it, but yeah, so there's that issue. And I think Searchlight ones, they got a little bit more flexibility because they're lesser known movies in some ways. Final ones of the pre-done questions, and then we'll be live for the rest of the show. Probably we'll just keep going until there's not questions. Babak says, Warner Brothers Discovery just announced that Max is profitable. They recently added live news and live sports. Could that be a successful streaming service? I think they drastically cut what they were putting on there. They've drastically cut how much stuff they were making. They were brutal in removing a load of originals. They have been playing it hardball. They have been making some real big decisions, and they've been making changes, adding in ad tiers. They have been doing a lot of movement, a lot of the same stuff Disney's been doing, but Disney gets extra negative. You know, anything Disney does that's a little bit negative gets picked up much more than Warner Brothers. I do think this is going to be the way that they do it. I mean, obviously, like ABC News is already built into like Hulu, so that will be coming in. I think we will end up seeing ESPN as a paid hub within Disney Plus. I think that's a good way of expanding it out and getting people to pay up for it. I do think that's coming. Max has gone into profitability, but they've been brutal with it. And Disney are going to be making the same thing. They made that choice with the thing with Discovery Plus and all the rest of it to help boost it up and cut costs and all the rest of it. Disney are going to do it, but they had a bigger problem when the fact that it was essentially they haven't had Hulu. So I think we are going to think that's going to be a way of doing it. Right, let's jump into some live questions. Ryan says back again was looking at Zelda without cell shading. All right, I've been playing the Tears of the Kingdom game. I'm not enjoying it as much as I liked Breath of the Wild. It feels a bit empty and I love Breath of the Wild. I completed it, spent like 70, 80 hours in there. Tears of the Kingdom, probably about 15 hours in, and I'm bored. Matt says, when the Marvelous Assembled Loki season 2 comes, won't be a separate one, or will it be put in season 2? It'll be a separate episode like the other. You know, they've all been spread out into different episodes and stuff for Assembled. Kelly says, Wikipedia did correlate the Hollywood strikes with the pandemic. In some ways, it did, since the writers and actors got overworked for 3 years, since the studios placed so much pressure to make content. I think, yeah, I suppose in that way you could look at it like that. The pandemic did have issues on it. I think the big problem as well was, you know, there was a lot of pressure and I don't know if it's necessarily a pandemic. I think it was more just the rush for streaming. It was like the gold rush. They were all making more and more shows, and they were all like outbidding each other, and there was just pandemonium to create as many shows and as many films as possible, and that gold rush to get to streaming. However, when all this stuff with the strikes is over, people are going to be going back into a different world. These studios are probably going to be making half as many shows. The season, there are not going to be as many jobs as there were before the strikes. They've had a couple of months to be able to clear off some debt, work out a strategy, and yeah, there is going to be a lot less jobs going around in Hollywood after this. Matt C, I noticed that Santa Claus Season 2 is the first non-Star Wars Marvel Disney Plus series in a while not to binge drop. Yeah. Well, I would say as well is, if you look at like the non-Marvel or Star Wars stuff, how many of them got cancelled just after the that's why they've done it. I'm surprised Dougie Kamaloa was still on there, but yeah, they didn't do the binge drop because they don't need to. I mean, also, Goosebumps as well is not getting it's not had a full binge drop. You know, you're getting weekly episodes on that one. But yeah, I think to be honest, my always feeling is like the binge drop method works for certain shows. Yeah, I don't know necessarily if it's a good thing. Matt says, when is Ford versus Ferrari coming to Disney Plus? I don't know which country you're in, so I don't know where it is. Here in the UK, it's already on there. Dana says, what, the men's game is on Saturday, the women's on... Yeah, that would have... I suppose the problem is whether or not they do... have they got the staff in place? Because it doesn't look like they had a lot of people watching it. Star says, do you watch any video reviews or critiques of Disney films all over YouTube? I'll be honest, I don't tend to watch reviews and stuff by other people. I do watch a few like movie related channels. There's a few ones like I will watch like Grace Beyond the Trailer, the John Campier Show, Kristen Kirstoff. I can't think of what he is. There's a few that I do watch for like the news aspects and stuff, and just kind of getting. Sometimes it's good for me just to get some different kinds of opinions and stuff on like what else is going out there. But as far as reviews go, if I have not seen it, I will generally not, and I don't want to be spoiled. I won't watch reviews, so that's the other thing as well. So that's a key thing. A lot of the shows as well, like say like Loki or something like that. If I've got screeners and I'm doing a review for it, I need to have my own opinion. So therefore, I won't tend to watch anything. Sometimes as well, obviously, I will watch stuff in advance, so therefore, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing it blind anyways. I'm not very good with like reading reviews and watching other people's reviews because it's a kind of situation of along the lines of I don't want it influencing on me, but I also it's that kind of weird thing of like I don't necessarily feel like I need to go in with my own mind on it. Tim says, what did you think of the trailer for Santa Claus 2? Looks good. I like the fact that it's not it's got a proper villain. It feels like that's a good thing. I think that's good. Babatronic says, do you think Disney will add a news live to Disney Plus? Well, I believe ABC News doesn't actually have a full live. It's not got like a 24-hour news channel anyway. So I don't know. I don't know if ABC News will, obviously if they keep selling the news to the local channels, they will still have to keep making stuff. Whether or not they do put it up on the US, I don't know. I mean, I don't think ABC News are obviously making documentaries and stuff that they can put on Disney Plus, but unlike like CNN, that's not like a rolling channel, so it's a bit more harder for them to do it. Kelly says, I feel the strike was necessary to send a message to studios and streamers to slow the F down and give creatives time to work. I wish it didn't go on so long, but things happen. There's definitely some course correction going on here. I do feel like the streamers and stuff, there's a lot of like nostalgia for the way that television used to be, where they all used to make 10, 15 seasons of a show, and they would get more and more money, and they would get richer and richer, and some of those shows would be syndicated and they would make more and more money. That model just doesn't work in the 21st century. They just don't give those shows long enough to the idea of having. I mean, I just can't imagine them doing, if they started Grey's Anatomy now, I don't think it'd go 19 seasons and 22 plus episodes, and you wouldn't get it. You'd get 10 episodes, and then they wouldn't give that kind of thing. So I think there's a little bit of nostalgia and like looking back at like what was and where they used to make all their money and how they used to, and going, well, we want that. And I just look at it and go, that's not, they're not going to go. I don't think they're ever going to go back to that, back to the old American syndicated, because the system is broken. It's just not there anymore. I know like Suits is doing like being, people are kind of going, look what happens when you put out a syndicated show and it does really, it's like, and all those episodes, and that's what you need. They're not willing to burn money on long seasons if they're not pulling in viewers and stuff. So I think that's, but also I think like the pay for films and especially for shorter series needed to be changed better. I mean, I totally agree with the writers where they needed to get hired for the host. If you're only making a 6-episode series, you need to have the writer for the host 6, because it's just such a short gig and there's not as many jobs and stuff. So I think that makes sense. It's kind of weird because here in the UK, we are so used to seeing short seasons. That's normal. 3 to 6 episodes per season is normal, and that's been like that for decades. It's kind of weird actually, because like here in the UK, they're still making shows. We're still getting drama. We're still getting everything. We're still getting our chat show. It's kind of weird thing of like our main core channels like 1, 2, and 3 and stuff. They're carrying on as normal. The strike really hasn't. Yeah, they might not import as much stuff, but it hasn't really had much of an impact in terms of what that's doing. I mean, a lot of shows and stuff being filmed for streaming services have been impacted, but like the BBC and ITV seem less so. But I do think they needed to slow down, but I think that was going to happen anyway. I think the money is the reason why they're doing it, and it's a bit of an odd one. Gary says, I just want a huge basket full of Star Wars and Mandalorian goodies from Paul Sun-hyun Lee last night. Lots of Pez dispensers. I haven't had a Pez dispenser since I was a kid. So he played Carson Tevye in The Mandalorian. Cool. That's really good. Glad you like it. Kyle says, and how did American-born Chinese do it? Hope it gets renewed. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just like came and went. It didn't really have any. I'll be honest, I didn't finish it. I actually forgot I was watching it. Yeah. I just got remember. I don't think I finished it. Yeah, no. Yeah, there just seemed to be no buzz about that series. It just kind of came and went. Dana says, isn't the SAG leadership voiced to the actors' issue and try to resolve them without a strike? Maybe it's time for new leadership, it sounds like. I mean, they only just had a presidential vote a couple of weeks ago. So they've literally just kept frowning. I think there is a fundamental issue right now with the leadership stuff where people are now questioning the leadership because there's now more disconnect with what's going on. And I think that is why people are starting to question stuff a little bit more. And us as fans are questioning stuff a little bit more, because it's like, some of the things that are demanding, you'd be like, I'd love that in my job. There's a lot of this stuff that's coming and going. And also with the events of the world and all the rest of it, it does seem very much like this stuff is just not as important as you guys think it is. I mean, I look at it as well. Like here in the UK, we've got strikes with doctors, You know, we've got strikes with train lines, we've got strikes with mail services, we've got strikes. We're constantly having strikes on right now, but they can only go on for like a couple of days at a time because they're core services. And you look at like Hollywood and stuff, and you do look at it and go, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't important. In the grand scheme of things, if they never did a deal, yeah, there would be some businesses and stuff that would struggle and all the rest of it, but the world would continue. Streamers would still have content, they'd still be making stuff. I think that's the key problem as well. Is I think the idea that this is life threatening, like it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And I think audiences are starting to get a little bit like this whole thing. I think there is a thing that some of the actors as well are now getting frustrated. And also there's another problem as well. A lot of the actors, if they've not been working for 3-4 months, they're now getting like, you know, especially people that aren't getting as much paid. You know, they're starting to question like, why is it taking so long? And it's bound to. The longer the strikes go on, the more people will get angry. At the beginning of the strike, people were very, very happy, and they were kind of yes, yes, yes. And there's still an element of that, but the online social media can very much run it around a little bit. And there's a lot of stuff that the strikes are doing, which is really good for the unions. Very good. All the AI protection, I think, is really good. Some of the other stuff that's been brought in, I think the bonus scheme system is better. There's a lot of stuff that's been brought in that's fine. I do disagree with the 1%, 2% of the. I just don't think that would work. Everything else I agree with. So it's very much, but I think the WGA deal, that's why it's a little bit more tricky, I think, is because they got offered the similar version to that, but they have to pay out more because there's more members. So it's not like the studios didn't give them an option. It's just they wanted more. Matt says, I would like to see Angels in the outfield on Disney Plus. Yeah, a lot of people are asking for that one. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Again, baseball is not something that's really popular here. I used to hate playing rounders, so I never really watched anything with baseball because I didn't like this. Didn't get it. Star says Disney Plus Hotstar SEA has apparently slowed down in taking the modern animated series. Kif and Haley's on it have not arrived. The big problem is it's not so much just in those regions. What's been happening is Disney has been cutting back on dubbing and subtitles across the world. Here in Europe and stuff, it's the same. They're putting out shows and stuff without the dubbing, and a lot of the time not even with dubbing, but with just subtitles. They have been trying to cut costs, and one of the things they've been doing is by cutting back on the amount of stuff they've been doing with this one. So it's not necessarily just in Southeast Asia, it's actually happening around the world. Aaliyah says it didn't reach Nielsen. Yeah, I don't think it did. That was with American Born Chinese. Tim says, speaking of short episodes, a Shark Tank Australia came back since 2018 and it's only had 8 episodes. I think like our version of that, Dragon's Den, I don't know how many episodes we have for that one in each. There's been 21 seasons. I'm just seeing how many episodes. Yeah, you're only normally looking at, I'm just trying to find. Yeah, 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episodes, 8, 10, 8, 10, 12, 12. So as they've got more popular, they've been doing more episodes. But generally, it started off low and it's been getting more. But that's quite normal. Kelly says Fran needs to go from SAG leadership. She's made a number of unenforced errors, especially the Halloween thing. I think they've been trying to divert the problem that there has obviously the studios walked away from the table, which on one hand I can see from their point of view was bad. They looked at that deal and like, what are you doing? We do not agree with this. We are not giving this to you, and we're walking away. You need to rethink it and come back. From the union, they had to try and go on the offensive and try and turn the tide because people were upset, people were angry, and they've tried to do it, and they're trying to put more pressure on. I think the Halloween thing, I think in their minds it's probably a bigger thing than I think people are just like, if this is not important. And I think again, it's telling people what they can and can't do, and people don't like that. Yeah, Gary says we're still waiting. Yeah, that would be good. Be nice to get it over with. Matt says, if the far from home pay windows are anything to go by, Do you think we won't see No Way Home on Disney Plus till 2025 at the earliest, for the US at least? Yeah, it's probably going to be a while off. It'll be different for any. I think Uncharted comes under the other deal. So they have got the pay 2 window rights. So it's about 2 years later. But yeah, it's going to be a while till it comes. Right, so we reached the end of the questions. So I'm going to do a last ditch thing, because I just realized we've gone much later than normal. So if you've got any last ditch questions, feel free to pop them in before we finish for the day. So again, so quick bits of housekeeping that I'm going to go over. So from tomorrow, we'll be doing the Daily Show will be returning daily, Monday through Saturday. If you are a member, remember you can remember to put in on each day. I will be picking a question from the previous day's episode. If you are a member or want to become a member, that is a good way of doing it. If you really want your question answered, you can use the super chat function. But also, just as important, well, next week, remember, with the time change here in the UK, if you're in the US and Canada and stuff, you might see it a different time. I think it might even be, I don't know if I think it might be an hour early. I don't quite know. Kelly says, what's your favorite Disney Halloween film? I'm going to be honest. Halloween wasn't really a thing in the UK. Well, I think when I was a kid, we did a few things. I am not joking. The only time I've ever put up Halloween decorations in our end, it's been in this office. Last year was the first time I think I ever put Halloween decorations up. This is our entire, everything I've got in here is our entire Halloween collection. That's all we've got. Yeah, we just don't really do it here so much. Matt says, what did you think of Once Upon a Studio? Loved it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good. Gary says it'll be an hour early. That's what I thought. That's what I thought it would be. Right. On that note, guys, thank you so much to everyone for joining in. I'll be back again next week with the live Q&A. So make sure you keep a lookout for those questions and stuff to go up. Again, we're back tomorrow with another video. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Later. Bye.